Let's talk about the Nigerian girl that recently lost her life in Cyprus on Monday the 13th of June 2022 after falling from a 5-story building. Some sources claim she jumped to her death, while other sources are of the opinion she was murdered. This is everything we know about the death of 20-year-old Chidera Jenifer Ugochuku. She was said to be from Imo State, Nigeria, and the only child of her mother. She traveled to Cyprus sometime in 2021. It's not clear if it's for school or to live there. It was said she shared an apartment with about 3 other Nigerian roommates and is known to always love to dance and make TikTok videos. However, a week before her death, she began showing signs of someone who was unstable. It was almost as if something had triggered that episode. Put in mind that the Cyprus authority have said it was suicide. Although they still said an investigation is ongoing, they still have to run an autopsy and some other tests before officially closing her case, which means there is a possibility that a new information might emerge. So like and follow this page to stay updated. But for now, sources are claiming that Chidera had gone to see a male friend, supposed to be her boyfriend, about a week before she passed, and that it was after this visitation that things started changing with her. People are suggesting she might have taken something in her boyfriend's house, while some people are claiming she caught him cheating and that affected her. Another thing to put into consideration is that she is not a stranger to hard drugs. On her Instagram, even some of her posts, she talks about weed and smoking, and basically she might have been into some of these drugs. And there is a high chance that the drugs may have played a role in her subsequent behavior following her death. But then there are still some sketchy parts to the story that makes it feel as though it could be much more than drugs. It was said that a week before her death, she became aggressive. She would yell, shout, curse, throw things at people, almost as if she was running mad. She was pretty much causing nuisance in the neighborhood, not only disturbing her roommates, but every other person in the building, which led to one of her neighbors calling the police on her. And the police came and she was arrested on Saturday, the 11th of June, 2 days before her death. But she didn't stay long in the police station. Eventually, she was released and brought home and handed to her roommates and friend to take care of her. It was even said that that Sunday she spoke to her mother. I guess her roommate had reached out to her, informing her of her daughter's strange behavior. Chidera spoke to her mother and her mother prayed for her, and she was just left in the care of her roommates and her friend. The next day, on Monday the 13th, it was said after she had had a bath, she laid on the couch and she was covered, in a blanket and was made to rest. Clearly at this point, her roommates knew that something was wrong with her. She was unwell. And so while she was on the couch, it was said she ran to the balcony to throw up. So the particular roommate that was, caring for her followed her to the balcony to hold her hair and pat her back, to help her feel relieved while throwing up. Now, this is where things became very sketchy, because according to the source, Chidera began attempting to jump over the balcony, over the rails, and this said roommate was trying to hold her back, begging her not to jump. It's unclear what Chidera said to her back, but it was said the roommate was trying so hard to prevent Chidera from jumping. Neighbors in other buildings even had to start filming Chidera in the process of jumping. It was said a particular white neighbor was the one filming, and she filmed and saw Chidera and the roommates going back and forth. She even heard the roommate begging Chidera not to jump. And clearly Chidera, who was already aggressive, was being very physical, and I guess the roommate was scared that Chidera might pull her along, and so she just let Chidera to herself, and that may have pushed Chidera off the ledge and causing her to fall to her death. The police were called to the scene and immediately investigation began. Clearly many people might be thinking that maybe the roommate was the one who pushed her in most likely one of her episodes of being aggressive. I would have imagined that she was, getting physical with a roommate since she was already being aggressive days prior. But luckily for that said roommate who was caring for her, neighbors were there to watch as Chidera was actually trying to jump, and they saw the roommate trying to stop her. And I guess the video was shown to the police, and that was why the police didn't arrest anyone in her apartment. because instantly when they got to the scene, after speaking with neighbors, they concluded she jumped herself. Well, now this is where things might get a little tricky and a little weird, because a lot of people are talking and speaking, and some people are claiming that it might have been a spiritual issue. And I honestly don't want to get deep into that because I don't believe it. Maybe if she wasn't someone who took drugs, I would have believed this was a spiritual case. But then a 20-year-old girl who was, a big consumer of weed and other substances, this is very likely. It's just that the behavior lasted for days. I mean, I would have guessed maybe the first day she would be very aggressive and the second day it would calm a little, and maybe subsequently the drugs effect would wear out. I'm just a little confused as to how the drug effect continued to be so serious to the point, even many days later, she felt the urge to jump off her building. I guess this is why many people are assuming it could have been a spiritual issue, because they feel the drugs should have at least worn out. Again, like I've said, the authorities are still investigating. They are still talking to her friends. They will mostly run an autopsy on her to see the cause of her death and to check if there is any drug in her system. Though I would have assumed they did that while she was in police custody. I mean, seeing that they arrested her then on Saturday, a day before her death, why didn't the police run a test on her and probably give her the necessary attention regarding her drugs consumption? I don't understand why they have to send her back home like that, knowing she didn't get better. So guys, this is everything that is being said so far. Apparently, maybe from now on, more information would come out, and hopefully people who know more things would speak out. I will be looking out for updates that are necessary and relevant to this story. So if you care to be updated, follow this page, stay subscribed, and also like and comment your thought as to what you think could have caused her to be acting so strange, weird, and aggressive to the point she had to take her own life. Let me know what you think.